This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Hey there, it's Brian Sebastian, movie reviews and more. And it's a Tuesday, and I have a feeling, since we're still in a retrograde, Linda, that things may go strange, and that's okay because I'm prepared for it. So the good thing about this is, let's see, this is 181 live shows in a row. This is season 6, show 2, and I'm loving this. This is great. And as usual, people popping at the last moment. I expected this black man to pop in at the last minute, not me, Barry K, to do this. But it's one of these fun things where I was looking forward to this because I'm going to talk about authors. And Linda, we're going to talk about your book too, because that's important because it's Giving Tuesday. Giving Tuesday means you got to give to all those authors, those artists, those musicians, those people out there creating their crafts. It's not easy out there in the world, as Barry will probably have a slang for this, since he's the real black guy and I'm the real white guy. But the one thing about this, we are live on Talk for TV, Talk for Media, K4HD Radio, and streaming on over 100 outlets around the world. And yes, WomenOnTV.tv and IT247 out of Franklin, Tennessee, where we have over 44 million views and counting. And I love how people do this. Linda, we've been through this before where people are playing with their phones and Howard, whether he has sound or anything. We've all done this stuff, so we're used to it. But the good thing
dare you?
Yeah, I know. How dare me? But the good thing about this is it's about this great book. This is a good book. And I'm not saying it just because it's Barry's book. It's a really good book. And Barry, one of the things that you stay in here is no one understands what we did for a living. No one, they still to this day, my mother doesn't know. Brian, what do you do? How do you make money? We would interview celebrities. And Barry, you got a check in your book. That was for like $200 back in the day for someone that you interviewed. And I thought that was funny because nobody knew how little we were making. But we were interviewing all these iconic stars. And I was just telling Howard about R. Kelly. You know, I was thinking, who didn't Barry interview as that creator, that digital creator, that author, you know, that entertainment journalist, that event and live booker? You're always at BET. You're always at the American Music Awards. And you are that Grammy recording voting member now, which I could not be happier for you. You made it in with all the stuff that you've done, and congratulations. And he's one of the original, as we would say back in the day, broadcast film critics members, which I used to be a part of. He's one of the original ones too. Now they're called the Critics' Choice. And so with all the stuff that we used to do, it started out of the radio room. With all the stuff that we used to do, there was about 7 of us. And on a bad day, there'd be 23 of us, meaning black press would be flown in for those black movies, which Barry was more than happy to be in line with them. I was like, who are these black people in the room? Because they're just coming to start making noise and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? And huh? Remember in our rooms, Barry would see he's drinking something. We wouldn't put bottles or anything, ice cubes in their glasses because they'd be chewing on ice. Remember those junket days, Barry? My good friend Barry Krutchie. Go ahead, Barry.
Listen, that's an intro. Let me just say it's a pleasure to be here with the Dream Team. I see Linda here, Howard. I've been listening and watching the show, and I just hope I don't do you guys any wrong. I want to live up to the hype that Brian has been saying. But yeah, no, we're OGs. We were there back in the day. We're still here. And again, happy to be on Movie Reviews. You've been talking about this show for I don't know how many years.
Well, occasionally I would call him and just check in and see what he's doing. He goes, how do you do a podcast? Why do I need to do a podcast? And I said to him, don't do it, Barry, unless you want to. because Linda knows how hard it is to do it. Howard's getting ready to do it next year when he moves to Chattanooga. But it's one of those things where that's why I said 181 live shows in a row. Most people they stop after 2 shows now. It used to be 7 shows. Now they just say, to hell with it. I can't do this stuff anymore.
It's work.
You know? Hey, Linda, tell Barry who you are.
Hi, Barry. I'm Linda Steele. I am an international best-selling author. I have a book that's called Nerves of Steel, and it is about childhood trauma and how it translates into your adult relationships. And the whole premise of the book is taking negative energy and turning it into something positive. So that's what the book's about. I've been a personal trainer and nutrition expert for over 20 years. Back in the day when I started my career, I was about 3 years in, and I was a nationally ranked personal trainer. The company that I worked for, out of 4,500 trainers, I hit the #1 female spot and kept it for about 3 years. And then I went off on my own. I owned several gyms along the way, employing a bunch of personal trainers, a bunch of people. And from there, I went into business with my daughter, who owns a company called Macro Made Meals. We're a meal prep company. And I'm the nutrition expert on staff, and I help her in the kitchen. She does a fantastic job. Currently, I play the role of a senior operations manager at a gym called Hamilton Lakes Athletic Club. We're in Itasca, Illinois, just outside Chicago. And I started here as a personal trainer, and they brought me on as a consultant to try to turn their business around. They were managed by an outside company, and we wanted to bring the management in-house and try to make them profitable. So I did that for them in a matter of 6 months. They kept me on as a senior operations manager. So that's what I do alongside training my clients that I've had forever. And I've been with Brian Sebastian with Movie Reviews and More since, Brian, what do we say, 2017? This is back when we were on iHeartRadio, and I mean, I was coming to LA for the shows at that time. It was.
I know. I counted the years today as I was texting Barry because he goes, "Who's your dream team?" I'm like, "Well, we're not a dream team, but we all like each other, you know." And I started. Well, Linda's been with us for 7, 8 years, and I'm like, "Wow, really?" I'm like, "Yeah," because she actually came out to LA to her gifting suite, and I have a little picture to show her from that she probably hasn't seen in a while. So yeah.
Today.
Yeah. If,
nice.
That one.
I remember the vodka company. That, in fact, I still have the bottle because I thought it was so unique. I still have that bottle.
I figured you would like that, yeah. And then Howard, tell Barry where you're coming from, because he was in Nashville not too long ago for something on the music side also.
Yeah, I'm Howard Wiggins from Nashville, Tennessee. My dad was on the Grand Ole Opry, or actually helped start the Grand Ole Opry, one of the board members, and played steel guitar for Eddie Arnold. I'm one of the top 35 world's leading interior designers, listed in Andrew Martin Volume 3. I retired at 65, but I didn't retire. I just kept working, and now I'm going to go back full time into interior design, starting probably next month or the next month, and start advertising, move to Chattanooga, start all over again, and do the final phase of my life. I just love shopping. I love beautiful things, and I can't stop. I don't want to stop. I want to die shopping. You know?
Yeah, Barry, you see all that art? This one of a kind art in behind him.
Brian, you act like I haven't seen the show. I know these intros. They don't even need to introduce themselves. I know who they are.
Okay.
I do prep. So the key, people ask me, what's the key to a good interview? You got to prep.
You know what? I forgot all about that.
Linda was telling me her spiel, and I'm like, Linda, I know this already. I mean, come on. Come on.
That's true. It's every episode.
I'm just saying, Howard, I mean, I wasn't sure what outfit you were going to be wearing tonight. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't sure. So,
nobody is.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, I'm here to, again, Brian and I, like you mentioned, we chat maybe once every couple months. So, might as well just chat while we're, like I feel like I've seen other shows where I was hoping to be the middle square in the Hollywood squares, but there's only, three of you. So now I'm just, bottom left. I'm like, it's not, it's not great. The middle square is the Paul Lynde square. For you kids, go Google. Just
Well,
kidding.
here's the thing, Barry. So Carol Register, she's in LA. She's at a speaking event tonight, which I wasn't going to go to. So she's
Oh.
like, I'm going to see if I can chime in because she really wanted to talk to you. Rachel's monitor went out, so she's in Houston, Texas. Anything wrong can go in Houston, Texas. And she goes, I got to get one of my sponsors to buy me a new computer now. So she's dying to come on because she wants to have you on Coffee Talk. She goes, I got to have this guy on. He's really black. I'm like, yeah, he is, even though he's white and half Jewish. I said, yeah, let's just do it.
Black?
Hey, Barry, if I mention a name,
Uh-oh.
let's see if you come up with a story. So I know you got some good ones. I'm not even going to say from the book. I'm going to pick someone. Did you ever interview David Bowie?
It's funny you should say that because someone thinks I did. This is actually technically the second time I'm talking about myself as opposed to interviewing somebody, which is just bizarre in itself. But the David Bowie thing is I've never actually interviewed him one-on-one. What I did do is book him for an event, which was a big deal because he's David Bowie, and I was doing Radio Music Awards, which is now called iHeart Music Festival, which all the people know that now. But before it was iHeart, it was called Radio Music Awards. And basically, I was in charge of talent, and I had to fly in. Well, we flew in 200 radio stations from around the country, every major market, every minor market, even. And we had 6 different formats. And I'm gonna land the plane. But basically, we had a hip hop room, a country radio room, a pop room, and we had a rock room. And David Bowie was putting out a record. This was early 2000. And he doesn't do shit. Excuse my language. He doesn't do stuff like this.
You can swear, it's fine.
Well,
You're black. You're a rapper.
I'm not. Well, I'm just saying. I represent. Don't front. Anyway, but it was a big deal, and I remember talking to his team, and to book him was not easy. It took every effort, every trick, just to basically assure them that this is the right thing to do. Because the big selling point to him was, look, I'm flying in 20 major market rock stations that for you to talk to them, you'd have to fly to 20 different cities. I'm bringing them all into Vegas. You just have to get to Vegas. And so that was a big deal. And when he said, it was almost like, it was just such a cool booking for me because not only was I a fan, but it took a minute to get to it. And then once he came and I saw him and he looked like David Bowie and I just was like, thank you for coming. And then I'm like, go enjoy it. And then I just remember one last thing on this. This team was so good. They're like, we're only going to do 5 stations out of 20. And I've been doing this so long now. I even remember, I'm like, okay, do your 5 stations. Meanwhile, 10 stations later, he's still there. An hour and a half later, he's still there. So you just got to create, an event in an arena where people are comfortable, and then they'll just go. And that's what happened with Bowie. So there's my Bowie story. I booked him, never really sat down with him, but I did book him for one of my events, which was pretty fucking awesome.
That is
Well,
awesome.
the thing also to think about that's a lot of times we're in the rooms with a lot of the celebrities. Sometimes we don't get a chance to do a one-on-one or a radio junket or TV junket, but we're in there. We may be drinking with them. We may be walking down the street to Roscoe's. Everybody's shouting a certain person's name out. Who is that, Barry? He's in your book.
Oh, look at you dropping. That was LL Cool J. LL Cool J, I'm actually wearing this hat in honor of him. It says the GOAT because he could be considered the GOAT when it comes to hip hop. Yeah, the quick nut is I was, and this is one of those stories. So the funny thing about this book that I did was I took a lot of these conversations, and again, the reason why it's called Classic Conversations because my interviews were like conversations. They, it wasn't your typical interview, if you will. But I remember when I was going to interview LL or Todd, if you know who he is. Just kidding, people, look it up. He was hungry, and so we were about to do an interview, and he's like, "Hey, you hungry?" I'm like, "Sure." And so we literally walked out of the studio on Sunset Boulevard, and just walked about I don't even know, like 5 minutes to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. But again, when you walk on the streets of Hollywood with LL Cool J, it's just different. And, you get the horns honking and, LL, what up? And he just, he was like the mayor. It was just awesome. And then when you go into Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles with LL, it's a big difference than going in with just your boys, especially, of not being of color, so to speak. Uh, the reality was, it's just the greatest experience. You sit down and the waitress literally was bringing you everything you want and more, and not even asking for it, because she knows what Todd is going to get, and she didn't know what I was going to get, so she just took care of me. It was just a different experience. Yeah, that was like a really unique lunch. And then we went back and we did the interview. So there you go. He was, you know, Linda, you know what I'm talking about when you're
I do
doing those
know.
recs with
So
somebody. And Howard, you know
it's
what I'm talking about when you're designing something. You're doing a landscape, and I just do that I got to make sure everyone's good. Linda, you can't get healthy. You can't get healthy if everything else isn't right.
right on. So you know what the greatest thing though, Barry, and this is something that I've experienced, and I obviously you're gonna say the same thing. I met a lot of famous people, especially through Brian and being in LA and so forth. But what's so cool about meeting these people is they're just like you and me. Like they're so down to earth. I have not met, and I shouldn't say not met because no one's really coming to mind, but I don't recall meeting somebody who didn't make me feel like they were just like me and I was just like them. It's real. Isn't it kind of cool when do you have any stories of people that were kind of stuffy and were kind of full of themselves?
Brian?
He does. Hey, I think it's Julia Roberts. Who comes to your mind?
Oh, Julia was great for me. No, I mean, I've only had, it's interesting because I've done a couple thousand plus interviews over the years. And so a common question when someone finds out what I used to do for a living, they always say, who's your favorite? And it's hard, just like when you used to ask an artist who's there. It's like if you ask Howard, what's your favorite house that you designed? Or the interior. He's got a bunch. So,
Yeah.
but what someone says to me, who's your worst interview? I know it right away. And I'm going to say his name, and I want to know if Howard or Linda know who this person is. And Brian, you do know, so don't say anything. But if I said Peter Weller, do you know who Peter Weller is, Linda?
I don't.
Howard?
No,
Exactly. Exactly. So,
but he thought he was big.
Yeah.
well, here's what I will say. I'm going to tell you who he is, and you're going to go, oh, yeah. But it's a good example of, he was the star of the original RoboCop.
Okay.
Okay.
Great movie, hit movie. They made more. But it kind of says something, because when I'm interviewing somebody, I'm helping them, I'm promoting them. I'm actually not even critiquing, like I'm literally there to help you shine. Linda, when you are training somebody, you are there to let them get in shape.
100%.
Howard, you know where I'm going, Howard. You know what you're doing. I'm
Yeah.
literally there. I mean, I can give them the softball questions. Hey, tell me about this project. Why should someone go see it? That's, easy. It's a layup, but I don't do any gotcha questions. This is before clickbait and all that. I was just there to promote. So if you're a dick to me and I'm just there to help you, says something. And the fact that you don't even know who he is, to me, I mean, I don't say it speaks volumes, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
I've got something to say about that. A lot of times, like y'all, I've been around country famous people. And one of the stories, I knew a girl who dated a country music star that wasn't all that big, and he thought he was as big as Elvis. But the reason they think they're that big is because all the people that follow them tell them how great they are. So if you don't like them, you're not around them. So in their world, their ego is inflated because everybody's just saying, you're so wonderful, you're so great. And the people that don't think that, they're not around them.
Listen, I'm not going to turn the camera around, but I have like 6
Yeah.
people here just telling me how awesome I am. No one stop. Because I like that. I need to hear it.
Oh, we all
All right,
like that.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Sort of kidding.
Yeah.
You need to be humbled, though. I mean, you know, it doesn't matter how good you are. I was a nationally ranked personal trainer.
Yes.
I never walked into a gym acting like I was better than anybody.
I walk around, Linda, that's where you're wrong. You got to walk. You're better than everybody. Come on. I walk into that interview room. I say, hello, Larry King, move aside. Who else?
Right.
I'm, I want, anyway, sorry. You notice that's, the way I conduct myself is to try and inject humor into what I do. And I think a lot of times you get a better response, whether you're doing an interview with somebody, podcast, designing a home, yeah, that's what I'm saying. All right, Brian, what's the hard-hitting questions? I know you got them written down. Let's go.
No, I don't write anything down. It's off the top of my head. Since we're on David Bowie, one of the best movies I've ever seen. So who helped launch Luther Vandross's career?
Luther Vandross. Ah.
You already know, Barry. David Bowie and Roberta Flack.
It's not a trick question. That's right.
No.
Wow.
No, he's great.
And tell people about it. But David Bowie didn't only do him. He helped. And Howard and I went to see at the opening night National Film Festival. Gloria Gaynor.
Mm.
So you interviewed Gloria Gaynor too, right?
Nope, never.
Get out of here, really?
Well,
You didn't get her for "I Will Survive" the documentary.
I say I didn't because I have to qualify it a
Did we lose you?
Where'd he go?
He probably hit one of his buttons. That's interesting. That's funny.
I wonder if he knows.
One of the.
There we go.
Yeah. So he was just talking to Ed Sheeran not too long ago, maybe 3 weeks ago for something.
Yeah.
So this is Barry. He's just typical, just like that. He's been like this since I've known him, and I loved him, for all the stuff that he does. And so when you have these iconic photos, thinking about Boys to Men and people like that, they all go back to the day. And when you're invited to things like Circus Soleil and things like that, these are the things that we always get invited to. You do Flavor Flav, come on, you're going to have a good enemy. You just don't know if you're going to come out drunk or not. And,
King.
True. It's one of the things. Hey, so Barry, we were just showing some of your photos for you. Hey, go back to Flavor Flav and this one. So you were just talking to Ed not too long ago.
Oh my God, it's hilarious. Yeah, no, that was a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, that's hilarious. Well, as Brian knows, like when award season heats up, they try and, they invite you to a bunch of stuff just to, meet the people behind. So he's promoting the single for the F1 soundtrack, which was pretty solid. And what's different a little bit, and Brian, you kind of remember this when we used to do this back in the day. So I was doing the movie stuff for sure, but my background is music, and I'm a music journalist more than I am a film critic, if you will. And so when we would do interviews, when we first started doing them, they're all one-on-one. But then when they went to those round tables that Brian was alluding to with like 6 or 7 journalists, my question was always about music, pretty much. Whether we're interviewing Bruce Willis or Julia Roberts or whoever it is, if it's in that little mini round table, I would be the one that say, hey, let's talk about music for a second. And 9 times out of 10, it was such a breath of fresh air for these people because they're sitting there interview after an interview promoting the same movie or TV show that they're doing, and they're getting asked the same questions. And so when someone just says, hey, how does music play a role in your life? It just, and then they, remember, I mean, Brian, I'm sure you remember, like, it was just, I had an agenda. Because I was doing all these syndicated pop radio shows, and we'd have a spot where we would have famous people with movies coming out talking about music, which would incorporate into our radio show. So,
and you used to write all those things.
I did. Back in the day, you had to book the interview, do the interview, cut the interview, edit the interview, write the script, and I only voiced one of the shows. But my favorite line that I try to say to everybody today doing podcasting is that, I've said it before, everybody has a podcast and everybody shouldn't. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's true.
You said it.
except for the people on this call.
Barry, how old were you? Because those pictures look like you were a teenager when you
Oh my
started.
God. I got very fortunate. I've started at 21, and I got thrust into this. And what was kind of cool for me is that I love music so much, but I wasn't so hip to the oldies music, if you will, like Anthony and the Imperials and Little Eva and all these old classic artists. But one of the shows that I was doing interviews for was a show that featured music from that era. So I was fortunate that I got to, I was forced to interview, artists like the Four Tops and these classic, like the Monkees and people like that for this show. But then I also got to talk to the pop artists and the hip hop and R&B, which is kind of why I ended up doing the book specifically on 90s hip hop and R&B, because it's just such a great era for music. And I'm sitting on this archive of hundreds of interviews with hip hop and R&B artists. And I just that had to be my first book. The next one will be different. It may be on personal trainers or interior designers, but it's definitely, okay, I know you guys, Linda, you hate me already. I know. Howard, you're digging it. But maybe I'll do country. Howard, I was fortunate. I did get to interview some country artists throughout the years. And I did, the one thing I will say about country music is I was working for what is now, I guess it's iHeart, Premier Radio. They were, back in the day, they still are the #1 producer of audio programming in the world. And I was, we had a bunch of shows, but I didn't do country, but they came to me, they say, hey, we're going to launch a country radio show. Do you think you could do it? I'm like, sure, I know how to launch shows. So yeah, I think I can do it. But the one thing about country music, which I found out pretty quickly, it's the most welcoming community in the world. I would call up and say, hi, we're launching a show. I think it was called Boot Scootin' Saturday Night, I think. It was syndicated. I don't remember our original host. I know some of the older hosts, but I also got a kick out of it. And if you guys know radio, everyone has like a fake name. It's like really funny.
What was yours? Mine was Show the Shadow.
Oh, that's a good one. Well, I was producing and exec producing, so I wasn't on air, but I would be talking to my talent and telling him what I would need. And maybe his name was, on the air it was like Bo or something like cool, but like behind the scenes it was like Patrick or something. And I'd be like, look, Patrick, like don't give me lip, just let's do this. But no, I do remember country music and literally the George Straits of the world and the Colin Rays and the Reba McEntires and the Clint Blacks could not be nicer.
Yeah.
And the record label departments were nice,
It's a clique. It's a clique. Everybody knows everybody in the country business. It's like a little close-knit family.
But you can't,
you got to make it into that family.
Yeah. It's kind of like Brian with the adult film industry. I don't know if your listeners know about his history, but Brian, his pimp hand's pretty strong in that community. And
I don't do those podcasts.
Oh, okay, there you go. You guys apparently know.
I do 2 a year, and I won't let Howard on.
Okay, that's hilarious. Yeah, no, I've been to a party before where there's no list, but if they recognize you, it's like an adult film, and I'm like, wow, there's no list? Yeah, no list. I'm like, well, how do you get in? Well, they got to know you. I'm like, oh.
That's right. He actually came to some of my parties, and he had a great time, didn't you?
I kind of remember one of your parties. I think I do.
You did.
Yeah.
I know who
Yeah.
I invited.
Yeah, it wasn't a freak off, but it was definitely interesting. Sorry. I'll be here all night. Just kidding.
Hey, Linda, when you would go to clubs in the
Uh-oh.
90s, just out, just having fun. Because remember when you were young, when you would go underage because you wanted to dance? Who's some of the artists you'd like to dance to?
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, we're talking like back with like Trax Records. We're talking during that time, that's when like house music, like Chicago house music was going on.
Yeah.
And so there was all about DJs and wiki. I mean, that's what I was listening to back in the day when I was underage drinking at bars. And we were more dancing, but yeah. So LL Cool J was, he was probably around maybe he was a little bit later. No, I think it was around that time. I can't think. I have them all. Like if I go on my Spotify list, they're just at the very top of my list. Let me tell you. Like Lisa.
Come on, you're from Chicago. What about Cheap Trick? I guess they didn't make music in the clubs, did they?
Yeah, we weren't dancing to that, but yeah, Cheap Trick for sure.
Sticks.
Yeah, Sticks. Yeah.
Chicago. I can name a lot of Chicago bands from back in the day.
I just saw that documentary about 3 months ago in Chicago. That was interesting.
Who?
On Chicago. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah. So, but like, so we're talking about like other regular bands, not just like, Trax Records types, dance music. There is, the band Chicago, yes, but my gosh, I can't think of all the names.
It's going to come to you. Howard, you like to dance, but what do you really like to dance with, Howard?
Well, I was more Saturday Night Live. That's when I first hit the scene because I remember when John Travolta did that movie, people were calling me, saying, he dances like you do. Come dance for us. And I go over there and dance for him. And of course, he dances better, but they just say that anyway. Just get me over there. But I did feel that way. I mean, I had my little entourage that the girls would be waiting on me when I get there. And it's just like I walked in like that. And I felt like I was John Travolta back then. I really did. So,
that's funny.
Anyway.
Hey, Barry, how many CDs? Do you still collect CDs? Oh, albums?
No.
Interesting. Isn't that interesting? We get rid of our stuff after a while. Why is that?
It's called Make It. Yeah. So I have and we all probably have some similar story to this, but it still pains me to this day. I had a vinyl collection when I was younger, growing up in South Florida, and I remember when I was out in California, I was in the industry. And my mom would always call me and say, what do you want me to do with this vinyl? Like, what do you want me to do? She didn't say vinyl. She'd say, what do you want me to do with your albums? And it just got to the point, I was like, you know what? Like, the technology was already moving on back then.
Yeah.
I was just toss them. I don't care. Like, they're not, who cares? Obviously not the biggest mistake of my life, but pretty fucking sizable. And when it comes to what I do for a living, and actually, you can't see, but behind me, I have like a bunch of like cubbies with album covers on top, and behind them I've reconstituted my vinyl collection because just to make up for what I did when I was younger and got rid of them, which is a shame. Such a
shame. I still have my Boston albums and Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and Michael Jackson and even Grease. I have the Grease one, both 2 albums. I mean, I have a ton of albums.
Well,
and my CDs go way back too. I don't have anything to play this. I guess maybe I can find a CD player somewhere, maybe in my car. I don't even know because cars make them now. Again, they have CD players. The newer.
I got rid of all of mine in Hollywood. I sold all mine in 99, 2000 to Amoeba. I started their record collection.
Oh, smart. Yeah. I used to do that a little bit. I mean,
yeah, well, I was a disc jockey. I got tired of lugging all the albums around, and I said, I went to some wedding. I did a wedding, and I said, this is it. I dragged 90 albums in a big duffel bag up some hill in California. I don't even know where it was. I said, this is it. I'm never doing weddings again. And I slowly but surely got rid of all my albums. So I can relate to that.
they used to give, so they, as Brian's alluding to, so we would get a lot of, promotional copies of music. Great stuff, actually. Um, what we would do, I mean, this is my 20s. I remember I would get my hair cut um, by this woman who I wouldn't even pay her. I would literally bring her a stack of CDs. And we were both, it was like typical barter situation, but she was the happiest person ever. And I was happy I got my hair did. Now, what was funny about this woman is just like anything else, just like when Linda started in the small clubs and when graduated to the big time, she started at like Carlton Hair, where I was, probably cost maybe $20 to get your hair cut back in the day. And then, but she kept moving up in the chains, and she ended up working like at the hottest salon in West Hollywood called Jonathan.
Oh
I
yeah.
pulled that out of my ass. And I would still walk in with a fucking stack of CDs. And again, I think the haircuts there started at like $100. Like Madonna got her haircut there. You know what I mean? Like it was like that type of place. In fact, the guy had a reality show, I think, years later about his salon. Like it was that popular.
I know he was.
But yeah, like I'm sitting here, in my 20s, walking in with a stack of CDs, and I get my hair did, and yeah, and Madonna was down the road. She was in the other place. Anyway, see, did I just drop something? Oh, a name. What?
Hey, you interviewed her. So did you interview
Oh
Chic
yeah, I did
and the
interview
Funk
Madonna.
Brothers?
I've interviewed Madonna a few times for some of her movies, not for her music. I wish it was for
Yeah.
her music.
So a lot of times what we did, we wouldn't get them for their music, but again, they started to be in like influencers now. They started to go into movies because they wanted to, what, Barry, sell more tickets, right? So they would show up in one of our junkets and we would interview them, and that's how we got a chance to interview them.
Well, their brains work differently than some other folks. Like for instance, I have friends who are my brother's a doctor. He doesn't, the way I phrase it is, I'm sure he's creative guy, but these musicians. There's a reason why musicians want to be actors, actors want to be musicians. It all is in the same creative vein. So I've been asked a couple times, like, what's the one through line that you notice when you interview these creatives, and their brains are different. They're always creating. So it makes sense that they'd want to act. There's a reason why Bowie was acting or Jagger was acting or vice versa. So yeah, I mean, they do art. It just makes sense. It comes naturally for them. So I don't begrudge them. What I do begrudge is when somebody, of fame, maybe a rock star, comes out with a barbecue sauce that has literally nothing to do with, just a way to milk his fans. To say what Howard said earlier in the conversation, they have a lot of people around them. Maybe not a million, telling them how great it is. So I imagine this rock star who's barbecuing on July 4th. Everyone's going, oh my God, this is the greatest barbecue sauce. You should have your own barbecue sauce. And he's like, what?
That's how it starts.
I should. And you shouldn't. No. Sorry. You should have a guitar line, maybe a strap line for your guitars, a pick
Right.
line. I don't know.
Right?
Maybe, what, alcohol goes with it? Sure. Because it's sex, drugs, rock and roll. We get that. Barbecue sauce? Sorry.
That's a great point.
Well,
You invited me, so I'm here to talk. Normally I don't. I'm
I
gonna
love
opine.
Dolly Parton. I love Dolly Parton, and every day she's coming out with something. She came out with the dumplings the other day. She's got the pie. She's got the makeup. She's got the jewelry. She's got a gas station now.
She's allowed.
Hotel, everything.
Yeah, but
Dolly is allowed.
these people, they're not doing it themselves. Obviously, it's somebody else.
No. They're supporting a lot of people.
Kylie Jenner, what was she, 20 years old, and she had a makeup line? Come on. She's not doing a makeup line. Somebody else is doing it, and she's like, wait, what? Where do I have to be? When? Okay, and she shows up. She's not creating her own makeup line and picking out the colors and calling them the names. She's not doing. Come on.
She may. Listen, I interviewed, I'll drop another name, Paris Hilton, a long time ago. Actually, that's on my that's on my YouTube channel. I just started a YouTube channel where I'm putting some interviews on there, like, hi, here's my interview with, Paris Hilton. Enjoy. And it's kind of like, it's almost like podcasting before podcasting, but I'm
Hmm.
trying to do the shorter interviews, like the 10-minute to 15-minute, because I've also noticed that people don't stay on, like there's probably half people that started listening to your show right now, they're already gone. They left. So I'm going to talk to the 25 people that are still here. But so Paris Hilton's a good example. So when I was interviewing her for Simple Life, um, she was already, I mean, again, Linda, I got to be honest, she was on top of her game. She was
Yeah.
like, I want to come out with this type of line, this type of line. She met with the perfume people. She met with the makeup people, and she was very specific in what she wanted. And I remember being very impressed with her that moment. Because I've been, I've been around her a few times, not that I wasn't impressed before, but like this woman, like I watched her evolve into this businesswoman, and I think she has I mean, you would know better than I'm not her target demo, but I think she has a pretty big, empire going right now. And I interviewed her like 15 years ago or so, maybe even 20, about what she wanted to do. So the fact that she's done
Yeah,
it
she's doing
is
it.
pretty cool. I
Yeah.
can't speak to the Jenners, I don't know them as well.
Well, I mean, and they've come a long way too. Don't get me wrong, but when you're 20 years old, you don't know anything about business. Oh,
That's
she's
true.
a millionaire, billion, whatever. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, has her name on stuff, but she's not making business decisions at age 20. She has people
No,
doing it for her.
no, they're not. But this is where, for going back to Paris, because the last time I interviewed Paris was 2012, and I took a picture of her mom, Kathy Hilton, who was one of the nicest people out there, and her dad Rick, very nice people, very smart people. So Paris got the smarts from the family because they're very close. And who's it? Nikki. Nikki's the one that stays out of the limelight. She's smart too. So, but she doesn't want to do what Paris went into when they were all hanging out and getting the simple life, getting in trouble and all that stuff. But her, Nicole, they came from good parents. They were just being rambunctious rich kids at that point.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
now, when you look at them now, they're business people.
They're business people.
Yeah. So, but Paris has always been very smart, though. I've always liked her. Even she came off, she was portrayed as dumb. She was not dumb. Sort of like Snoop Dogg. The first time I interviewed him, I'm like, this guy is smart. He has intelligence, but look what everything he's doing, right, Barry?
I have nothing to do with it. Just kidding. Nah, listen, Snoop's the man. There's a lot of these artists that when you met them decades ago, would you ever predict? Like I like on the back cover of my book, I think I wrote some version of, a lot of these interviews are with icons before they were icons, which is true. And that is the cool thing I like about going back into these classic conversations, because when you're talking to a Jay-Z, for instance, he's my last chapter. Um, you know, who knew that he'd become this mogul?
A
Like,
billionaire. Who knew?
yeah, like
I definitely didn't see that.
I didn't. But when I talked to friends of mine at Def Jam and I said, "Did you know that?" They're like, "Oh yeah," and we knew right away. I was like, "Wow, I didn't know that." So there's a lot of that, and then it's kind of cool. Also, you brought up Luther Vandross. You know, in the chapter, there's just so many times when he's literally dropping knowledge. And again, this is just in an interview. But if you're reading it and you're just like, reading it as like a civilian, just like, "Oh wow," and you're just taking away like, wow, this guy literally didn't quit. He didn't have a plan B. He set out on a course. He took what his talent, and then every time he had that opportunity to kind of push it, he did, because he wasn't looking back. And he literally, so there's these little nuggets that when I was going back to do some research, a great example also, I was just talking about the other day with MC Hammer, because someone called me about, they really liked the MC Hammer chapter. And they didn't realize how big MC Hammer was. They were a little younger. So I mean, if you guys remember, probably Howard, you remember MC Hammer when he was, yeah, I mean, Linda, you
That's
probably
what
danced to a little Can't Touch This,
Mhm.
but in the interview, when I was interviewing him, he had already been MC Hammer, and he was kind of a little bit on the downturn, just a tiny bit.
That's in like
Which is
1994. Yeah.
well, because the thing is like, I remember when he was Hammer, I was trying to get an interview. I couldn't get an interview. He was just that big. And So when I was able to interview him, the shine was a little bit different, but you would never know that when you're reading this thing and I'm listening back to my interview. He was so fucking positive. He just always said it's all good. And by the way, I say it all day now. It's all good. How you
And
doing?
the
All
slogan
good.
came from the Bay, MC Hammer, it's all good.
It's
And
all
everybody says it
good.
now, don't except for me.
Yeah, I mean, but like, so there's a nugget that I was like, it's just like a little takeaway where I'm like, wow, this guy was given curveballs, and he was hitting them just like the Oakland A's back in the day. And it's kind of, I mean, to go back is kind of fun. Uh-oh, who's that? Oh, yeah, putting pictures up.
Hey, talking
Uh-oh.
about that drummer, since we're all drummers.
I actually am a drummer. Well, that's a funny story, because I'm too young to have interviewed John Bonham, but I remember I went to a show with Jason Bonham. They were the opening act. I think it was. I'm trying to think. I've seen him a bunch of times, so I'm trying to think which tour it was. But I think they were opening up for Peter Frampton, and
Mm.
so I saw them at the Forum, and I was still cool enough to get some version of hospitality, which just means that you get to go some version of backstage. It's not like the inner sanctum, but it was kind of cool. But I didn't get to meet his son Jason, and the next day I'm at the mall. True story. And I'm walking around and I see Jason Bonham. Now no one knows what Jason Bonham looks like. But I do, because I just saw him the night before, literally there. And so he looked at me and I looked at him, and he kind of was like a knowing, is like, well, you know who I am? I'm like, yeah, I know who you are. And then we just had this little beautiful 20-minute moment in the Beverly Center. He was there with his wife, I believe. We just had a chat. And I explained to him, I was like, oh, I used to be a rock journalist. Oh my God, I've been, like, we know some of the same people. I name checked his publicist, and he knew right away. He's like, okay, this guy's not just a fan. He knows people that he knows. I shouldn't say he knows people, but. And so that was that moment where and then I said to him, I go, I don't do this a lot, but I go, can we get a selfie? And he was like, I think he even asked me for the selfie, is to be honest. It was just really cute because it was just a very mutual love, like, hey, I'm in the industry, but we're meeting like at the mall. And that was kind of fun. By the way, same mall where I have my Vanilla Ice story, which I've told a few times. It's in the book about when you go to the mall with Vanilla Ice, which is just hilarious at the time because this is before cell phones and stuff like that. So, but he was the biggest artist in the world at the time. And you go to a mall, and that mall, and it was just crazy. It was kind of like Bedlam. Not the Beatles so much, but it was a little crazy. And and there was only three of us: me, Ice, his road manager, I think, and one other guy. And out of nowhere, we're just like, fuck, we're security, and I'm just holding back crowds. It was, I mean, I could have used some physical training from Linda at the time, but I was trying.
Hey, Barry, we got 2 minutes left. What do you hope to see coming up for the Grammys? And then Music Cares, I hope to be there for Mariah Carey.
Listen, I've been working with the Recording Academy since I was 21, covering it backstage. I just love it's the biggest night, music's biggest night. I hope it stays that way. Music Cares does good for our community, for people. So the fact that you support it is fucking awesome. I just, in the one last minute, I don't have all my ducks in a row. I'm getting them there. But if you want to check out some of my old interviews, I'm going to be putting them up. Classic Conversations BK. It's on YouTube. So, excuse me, that's my brand. Classic Conversations BK. And I'm going to start uploading a lot of these old classic interviews with people we all love, and just revisiting them. I'm just sitting on a lot of content. Yeah, and that's the book. Yeah, the book is there, and I'm gonna come up with another one. And maybe I'll do country artists on the next one for Howard and his family. You know, I don't know. Linda, maybe I'll do guitar gods for Linda because there's a lot of rock guitar gods that you probably love, and or maybe I'll go adult film industry for Brian. Who knows?
I'm retired. Okay.
Who knows?
Hey, give your social media links for everybody, Barry.
Oh, go Lynn. Oh, me? It's so there's two. One's Krutchie 360, which is Krutchie 360, Krutchie 360. But the classic conversations BK is probably all my socials now. And yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
Linda, social media links.
Linda, come on.
Linda Steele Wellness on Instagram. Every other platform got hacked. I'm on LinkedIn, Linda Steele Wellness, and that's it. Oh, look at there's my mom and my daughters. Oh, there's my book. Look at it. That's my family. My
Howard.
favorite people in the whole wide world are in that picture. Oh, hello. Nice.
Howard.
Where are you getting these photos, Brian? This is great.
Hey, I always have them just because
Just
I can
Howard
throw 'em up when we
Wiggins.
get into
Howard. Just Howard Wiggins Facebook. Howard Wiggins Interior Design. I'm plain and simple. That's it. Just watch me and hit likes, hit love. Text me. I'll text you back.
Love it.
And how, Barry, what we're going to do, because we got to go, we got to do a part 2 with you, because I know the other 3 girls, they're upset that they missed you.
Oh,
So, and we're going to have more to ask you because you never can stop talking about a book. Right, Linda?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. All right, Barry. Hey, I'm glad that you got a chance. It's good to see you. I hope I can see you in January, but you know what? I always say this to everybody. Have a good night tonight, a better day tomorrow. You see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours because the world needs it. I'm Brian Sebastian, and we are Movie Reviews and More, and we will see you next week.
thanks, guys.